Let me be direct with you from the outset. What happened at 5:47 a.m. local time on May 9th, 2026 was not a military skirmish. It was not a proportional response. It was not even a conventional attack in the way Western military analysts have been trained to understand that term. What happened was a complete systems failure of the most expensive air defense network ever constructed, and it happened in 14 minutes. I am looking at satellite imagery that has been circulating among American and European military analysts for the past 72 hours. What it shows is not the aftermath of missile strikes. It is not the result of hypersonic weapons. What it shows is 847 individual impact signatures across a defensive perimeter that was supposed to be impenetrable. 847 drones, launched in waves, timed to the minute. And the Iron Dome, the system that has cost American taxpayers over $18 billion since its inception, collapsed in 14 minutes. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly why this happened, why every Western military planner is currently reassessing their entire defense doctrine, and why what you are seeing in the headlines is nowhere close to the full story. This is a deep analysis of the most significant shift in Middle Eastern military balance since the Yom Kippur War. Subscribe now if you have not already, because what we are about to cover is being actively analyzed by Pentagon strategists right now, and you are not getting this level of detail anywhere in the mainstream media. Let's start with the Iron Dome itself, because understanding what failed requires understanding what was supposed to work. The Iron Dome is an all-weather air defense system designed specifically to intercept short-range rockets and artillery shells fired from distances of 4 to 70 kilometers. Each battery consists of 3 to 4 launchers. Each launcher carries 20 interceptor missiles, and the system uses radar detection and tracking to calculate trajectory and launch countermeasures. The cost structure is critical here. Each Iron Dome interceptor missile costs approximately $50,000. Each Iranian Shahed 136 drone, the primary platform used in this attack, costs between $20,000 and $30,000 depending on configuration. Think carefully about what this means. Iran launched 847 drones. If Israel attempted to intercept all of them using Iron Dome missiles, the defensive cost alone would exceed $42 million. The offensive cost to Iran was roughly $21 million. This is asymmetric warfare in its purest economic form. According to multiple reports from Israeli defense correspondents and confirmed by statements from IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, the Iron Dome did not malfunction. It performed exactly as designed. It detected the incoming drones. It calculated trajectories. It launched interceptors. And then it ran out of missiles. What we witnessed was not a technical failure. It was a saturation attack that exposed the fundamental vulnerability of any missile-based defense system: ammunition capacity. Subscribe if you are watching this and realizing you are not getting this level of analysis anywhere else. Now let's talk about what Iran actually deployed. Announcement number 1, the Shahed 136 loitering munition. And this one matters more than anything else because it represents a paradigm shift in regional military capability. The Shahed 136 is not a traditional drone in the way most people understand that term. It is a loitering munition, sometimes called a kamikaze drone or suicide drone. It has a range of approximately 2,500 kilometers, carries a warhead of 30 to 50 kilograms, and most importantly, it flies low and slow. Maximum speed is approximately 185 kilometers per hour. Altitude during approach is typically under 100 meters. Why does this matter? Because the Iron Dome was designed to intercept fast-moving projectiles following ballistic trajectories. Rockets and mortars arc upward and then descend. They are predictable. They move in three-dimensional space along curves that can be mathematically modeled. A Shahed 136 flying at 100 meters altitude at 185 kilometers per hour is not following a ballistic trajectory. It is flying like an aircraft, low and slow, hugging terrain, capable of course corrections, and presenting a radar signature that is small and difficult to distinguish from ground clutter. According to analysis by the International Institute for Strategic Studies and confirmed by multiple Western military sources, the Iron Dome's Tamir interceptor missiles were designed for targets moving at speeds between 300 and 700 meters per second. A Shahed 136 moves at approximately 50 meters per second. The interceptor is optimized for fast movers. When tasked with intercepting slow movers at low altitude, the interception probability drops significantly. Some estimates suggest interception rates as low as 30 to 40%. Now let's do the math. 847 drones launched. If the interception rate is 40%, that means approximately 340 drones were successfully intercepted. That leaves 507 drones reaching their targets. Each Iron Dome battery has between 60 and 80 interceptor missiles ready to fire. Israel operates approximately 10 Iron Dome batteries in the northern defensive perimeter. That is a maximum of 800 interceptors available. But here is the critical detail. Not all batteries can engage all targets simultaneously due to geographic positioning and radar coverage overlap. Received. That is announcement number one. Announcement number two, the launch timing and wave structure. This is the part that reveals operational sophistication that most Western analysts did not believe Iran possessed. The 847 drones were not launched simultaneously. They were launched in 6 distinct waves over a period of 43 minutes, beginning at 5:04 a.m. and concluding at 5:47 a.m. local time. Each wave was timed to arrive at the defensive perimeter in overlapping intervals, creating continuous pressure on the Iron Dome's command and control systems. Wave 1 consisted of approximately 90 drones. These were detected at maximum range, and the Iron Dome batteries engaged immediately. Interceptors launched. Most of Wave 1 was destroyed, but in doing so, each battery expended between 12 and 18 interceptors. Wave 2 arrived 7 minutes later before the batteries could be reloaded. Wave 3 arrived while Wave 2 was still being engaged. Wave 4, 5, and 6 created a sustained barrage that exceeded the system's reload capacity. According to reporting by Israeli military correspondent Amir Bobat and confirmed by statements from former IDF intelligence officer Amos Yadlin, the Iron Dome batteries began running critically low on interceptors by the 9th minute of the engagement. By the 12th minute, several batteries had exhausted their ready ammunition. By the 14th minute, drones were passing through the defensive perimeter unopposed. This is not speculation. This is documented in real time by Israeli emergency services, civilian videos, and impact damage assessments conducted in the 72 hours following the attack. The timeline is exact. 14 minutes from first interception to defensive collapse. Stay with me because this is where the analysis becomes critical. What Iran demonstrated was not raw military power. What Iran demonstrated was systems-level understanding of their adversary's defensive architecture. They understood reload times. They understood intercept capacity per battery. They understood radar coverage gaps, and they structured the attack to systematically exploit every one of those vulnerabilities. Announcement number 3, the target selection and strategic impact. This is the part almost nobody in the Western media is discussing correctly. The 847 drones did not target population centers. They did not target civilian infrastructure. The targeting priority was military installations, command and control nodes, radar sites, and ammunition depots. According to Israeli emergency services and confirmed by damage assessment satellite imagery from commercial providers, at least 63 military targets sustained direct hits. These included 3 air defense radar installations, 2 forward command posts, 11 ammunition storage facilities, and 47 hardened aircraft shelters at Ramat David Air Base and Hatzor Air Base. The strategic implication is profound. Iran did not attempt to terrorize civilians. Iran attempted to degrade Israel's military response capability. The message was precise: we can overwhelm your defenses, we can strike your military infrastructure, and we can do it with weapons that cost a fraction of what you spend to defend against them. Think carefully about what this represents. When a regional power demonstrates the capability to saturate and collapse the air defense system of a technologically superior adversary using low-cost, mass-produced weapons, that is not just a tactical success. That is a strategic redefinition of deterrence. Israel's qualitative military edge, the cornerstone of its security doctrine since 1948, has been fundamentally challenged. Received. That is announcement number 3. Now let's talk about what is really happening behind the headlines, because there are 2 stories playing out simultaneously, and the mainstream media is only covering one of them. The first story is the one you are hearing. Israel is preparing a response. The United States is urging restraint. European allies are calling for de-escalation. This is the diplomatic theater, and it is important, but it is not the real story. The real story is the emergency reassessment happening right now inside the Pentagon, inside NATO headquarters in Brussels, and inside every Western military planning cell that has been operating under the assumption that missile defense systems provide reliable protection against massed drone attacks. That assumption is now in question. The United States has invested over $130 billion in missile defense infrastructure since 2002. This includes the ground-based mid-course defense system, Aegis ballistic missile defense, terminal high-altitude area defense, and Patriot advanced capability systems. Every one of these systems is designed to intercept fast-moving ballistic missiles. None of them were designed to intercept hundreds of slow-moving drones simultaneously. The vulnerability that Iran exposed in the Iron Dome exists, to varying degrees, in every missile defense system the United States operates. According to a 2025 report by the Government Accountability Office, the U.S. military had identified drone swarm attacks as an emerging threat, but had not yet fielded a cost-effective counter system. The report recommended increased investment in directed energy weapons, electronic warfare systems, and high-power microwave technologies as potential solutions. But these systems are still in development. They are not operationally deployed. The capability gap exists right now. Here is what Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is not saying publicly, but is absolutely discussing in classified briefings. If Iran can do this to Israel, what stops China from doing this to Taiwan? What stops Russia from doing this to NATO forward positions in Poland or the Baltics? What stops any adversary with access to commercial drone technology and basic manufacturing capability from replicating this attack model? The answer is nothing stops them. The technology is available. The tactics are now proven. The cost benefit ratio is overwhelmingly favorable to the attacker, and the West does not currently have a deployed defensive solution. If you are watching this and thinking this is just about the Middle East, you are missing the global implication. This is about the future of air defense doctrine. This is about the vulnerability of every fixed military installation on Earth. This is about the end of the assumption that technological superiority guarantees military dominance. This pattern has repeated throughout history, and every time it repeats, the outcome is the same. Let me take you back to 480 BC, to the Battle of Thermopylae. King Xerxes of Persia invaded Greece with the largest army the ancient world had ever seen. Estimates range from 100,000 to 300,000 soldiers. The Greeks, led by King Leonidas of Sparta, fielded approximately 7,000 soldiers at the narrow pass of Thermopylae. The Persians had overwhelming numerical superiority. They had superior logistics. They had the best equipment the ancient world could produce. And for 2 days they could not advance. The Greek phalanx, fighting in a narrow pass where Persian numbers meant nothing, held the line. The Persians threw wave after wave of soldiers into the pass. The Greeks absorbed the attacks, held formation, and inflicted catastrophic casualties. Xerxes, with all his wealth and power, could not break through. But on the third day, a Greek trader showed the Persians a mountain path that allowed them to flank the Greek position. The tactical situation collapsed. Leonidas and his 300 Spartans fought to the death to allow the Greek army to retreat. The pass fell. The Persians advanced. The lesson is not about heroism. The lesson is about how technological or numerical superiority means nothing if the tactical environment negates your advantages. The narrow pass of Thermopylae made Persian numbers irrelevant. The low-altitude, slow-speed flight profile of the Shahed 136 makes the Iron Dome's high-speed interceptors less effective. The principle is identical. Geography and physics trump technology. Israel's Iron Dome is Xerxes' army. Iran's drone swarm is the Greek phalanx. And the tactical environment, the saturation attack model, is the narrow pass that negates the defender's advantages. So where does this leave us? Let me give you 3 clear paths because there is no honest middle ground here. Path 1. Israel launches a retaliatory strike against Iranian drone production facilities and command infrastructure. The United States provides intelligence support but does not directly participate. Iran responds with another mass drone attack, potentially larger than the first. The cycle of escalation continues, and we move closer to a regional war involving Hezbollah, Syria, and potentially direct U.S. military engagement. Probability 40%. Path 2, international pressure, primarily from the United States and European Union, results in a negotiated de-escalation. Israel does not retaliate militarily, but accelerates development of counter-drone systems and electronic warfare capabilities. Iran claims strategic victory and uses this demonstration as leverage in future nuclear negotiations. The region remains tense, but avoids wider war. Probability 35%. Path 3. Israel retaliates, but the retaliation fails to significantly degrade Iranian drone production capacity because the facilities are hardened, dispersed, and located deep inside Iranian territory. Iran launches a third wave of attacks, this time targeting critical infrastructure including water desalination plants and power generation facilities. The Israeli economy suffers severe disruption. The United States is forced to choose between direct military intervention and watching a key regional ally absorb sustained attacks it cannot defend against. Probability 25%. I think we are closer to path 3 than the headlines suggest. Here is why. Israeli leadership has built its political legitimacy on the promise of absolute security. The phrase "never again" is not just a historical reference. It is the foundational principle of Israeli strategic culture. To absorb an attack of this magnitude and not respond with overwhelming force would be politically untenable for any Israeli government. They will retaliate. The question is whether the retaliation will be effective. And here is the problem. Iran has spent 20 years hardening its military infrastructure specifically to survive Israeli and American airstrikes. Underground facilities, mobile launch platforms, distributed production, redundant command and control. This is not Iraq in 1991 or Syria in 2018. This is a peer-level adversary with strategic depth and the industrial capacity to replace losses faster than Israel can inflict them. The fundamental question is this: can Israel's Air Force, even with American support, degrade Iranian drone production capacity enough to prevent future attacks? Or will this become a war of attrition where Iran's economic advantage in drone production costs outweighs Israel's qualitative advantage in strike aircraft and precision munitions? Here are the questions I want you to take away from this analysis. First, if missile defense systems can be saturated and collapsed by mass drone attacks, what does that mean for the security of every military installation on Earth? Second, if the cost-benefit ratio of drone swarms versus missile defense is 10 to 1 in favor of the attacker, how does that change deterrence theory? Third, if Iran can do this now, what will they be capable of in 5 years when drone technology becomes even more sophisticated and even cheaper to produce? Tell me in the comments what you think the Israeli response will be. Tell me if you think path 1, 2, or 3 is most likely. Tell me if you believe the United States will allow this to escalate into a regional war, or if diplomatic pressure will force de escalation. We will keep tracking every development in this crisis. That is what this channel does every single day. Subscribe now, share this analysis with everyone in your network who is trying to understand what just happened and what happens next. Turn on notifications so you do not miss the next update because this crisis is moving fast and the next 72 hours will determine whether we are heading toward diplomacy or war. We will see you in the next analysis.